Vanakkam. Welcome to this course on classics in neuroscience. We have been looking at classic Nobel Prize winning work, specifically the work of Robert Barany, who was awarded the 1914 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. In this video, we will summarize his contributions and how his work had a lasting legacy, a century of influence, perhaps more. So, Robert Barany was awarded Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for his work that explains the physiology and pathophysiology of the vestibular system. He was the first to practically discover the caloric response and how temperature affects balance. When the Nobel Prize was announced, Barany was actually a prisoner of war in a Russian camp. When he won the prize, he was there. Actually, Swedish Prince Carl personally had to negotiate his release so that Barany could accept the Nobel Prize in 1916. So, he was captured by the Russians because he was perhaps helping the Austro-Hungarian empire in the war. So, he was captured by the Russians and he was in the prisoner of war camp, from where he was released and he travelled to Sweden in 1916. Although the prize was awarded in 1914, it took him 2 years to secure his release and for him to accept the prize. And he continued to stay on in Sweden. He accepted a position in Uppsala University and he continued to stay on there. His work essentially laid the foundation for modern neuro-otology and vestibular medicine. It's a huge field that focuses entirely on balance and disorientation and balance dysfunction. Essentially, the caloric test confirming the connection between the temperature of the inner ear and the balance signals that are received by the brain. The chair, the rotating chair that was practically designed by Barany, that is even today called as the Barany's chair, the device used to spin patients and measure their vestibular responses. And his later work that he did after winning the Nobel Prize on benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, he explained essentially how small particles of calcium carbonate in the inner ear, canalites, can cause vertigo, and this led to the development of a maneuver that pushed these calcium carbonate particles back into the utricle where they actually belong. That maneuver is called as Eppler's maneuver. Please read about this, those who are interested. I have already mentioned this a few times, saying it again. So, after winning the Nobel Prize, he essentially accepted a position at the University of Uppsala and he continued his research on neurological disorders and balance. And he was a strong pacifist. So, he advocated for scientific peace because his experience in the prisoner of war camp and in the war led him to believe that war is not the way, peace is the way. And he diagnosed BPPV, later that came to be called as the Barany syndrome. He was among the first to properly diagnose or develop protocols that diagnose this. So, his method and his approaches to testing vestibular dysfunction are still being used in today's clinics, such as caloric test and this. His research led to the development of treatments and therapy for vertigo, Meniere's disease and other balance disorders. It practically inspired modern advancements in motion sickness, space medicine, pilot training, astronaut training, whatnot. And he was honored by the Barany Society, which promotes research in neuro-otology. He was practically the first prisoner of war to win a Nobel Prize. And for some time, he trained under Sigmund Freud, psychiatry. Sigmund Freud was a psychoanalyst, but in psychiatry, as a psychiatry student, for some time Barany studied under Sigmund Freud before switching to otology. He was a brilliant pianist. He was an artist, so many of his descriptions of his observations were brilliant, just like Cahal's drawings. Barany's drawings were also beautiful, so they were essentially an excellent mix or balance between scientific accuracy and artistic elegance, like that. So Barany was an accomplished pianist who believed that music can be compared with the physiology of the inner ear, where he said that the inner ear essentially composes body's symphony of motion. The inner ear is the composer of the body's symphony, or the conductor of the symphony of motion for the body. So that is a comparison between music and the physiology of inner ear function. His children also became physicians and scientists. His children were Ernst Barany, Ingrid Barany, and I think Franz Barany. Ernst Barany, he essentially pioneered research on glaucoma. Ingrid Barany developed early prototypes of cochlear implants, perhaps inspired by his father's work maybe. Franz Barany worked on neuropharmacology. He was a strong pacifist, so he founded a political science academy for world peace. So with this we come to the end of this video and to the end of this series of videos on Robert Barany. In this series of videos, we looked at the lasting legacy and the specific contributions made by Robert Barany to the field of neuroscience in general and to neuro-otology in particular, that led to the award of the 1914 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. With this, we end this series of videos and this week's videos. Thank you very much for your attention.